Hi guys, welcome to our class. This is the income and business taxation. What we are going to discuss today is the definition of taxation as well as the basic principles of a sound tax system. Let's start with the definition. This definition is the definition that I have constructed for several years. So it is an inherent power of the state vested in the legislative body of the government to enforce proportional contribution upon persons, properties, or rights to generate revenues which defray the expenses of the government. So that is the definition that I want to share with you. So this incorporates all the necessary words, the necessary definition of what is taxation. So those words highlighted in red are the vital words or group of words in the definition of our taxation. First, we have inherent power. Taxation is an inherent power of the state, meaning to say a government cannot exist without taxation. That is what President Rodrigo Roa Duterte is mentioning on his 2016 State of the Nation address. What are the three inherent power of the state? These are the power of taxation, the power of eminent domain, and the police power. So these three are the inherent power of our government. So to cut it clear, the police power is that the government is to provide the general welfare of our society. So sila yung nagpapatakbo ng gobyerno natin, nagsasaayos ng trapiko, nagsasaayos ng mga serbisyo ng gobyerno. So this is basically the police power. Next, we have the power of the eminent domain. On the power of the eminent domain, it is the government can what do you call this, can convert the private property into public purposes. Paano yon? So, si government, pwede niyang bilhin. Okay? So, binibili niya yung mga private properties with just compensation lang. Okay? With just compensation. Meaning to say, kung magkano dapat talaga yung benta noon sa market, yun lang yung babayaran ni government doon sa ating mga private individuals in order for the government to get that property and to use that for public purpose. And lastly, of course, we have the power of taxation. For the power of taxation, it is said that it is the strongest among the three inherent power of the state. Why? Because without taxation, the other two inherent power cannot function well. How? The taxes being collected by the power of taxation is being used by the other two. For instance, on the police power, so sa pag-maintain ng ating society na maging peaceful, so syempre, yung mga sweldo sa mga police natin, sa mga officers, saan kinukuha? Sa taxes na nakukolekta through our taxation. The power of the eminent domain. So meaning to say, we are going to buy those private properties in order to be used that into public purposes. Saan kukuha ng pera pambayad doon sa mga private properties na yon? With the power of taxation. So that is why it is being considered as the strongest among the three inherent power. And also, although it is the strongest, it is also or it has also the power to destroy. Paano naman siya makaka-destroy? Ibig sabihin nito, kasi ang taxpayer, kapag kayaan ay, pagka yan ay hindi na makabayad ng buwis, si government, pwede niyang kuhanin yung mga personal and real property niya. Meaning to say, pwedeng kuhanin ni government yung kanyang mga ari-arian, kotse, bahay, lupa. Of course, yan naman through proper, what do you call this, sa court. So, hindi naman basta-basta kinukuha yan. So, meron tayo, ino-notify siya. So, matagal na proseso. But, syempre, makakawawa naman yung taxpayer. Made-destroy yung kanyang kinabubuhay. So, that is basically the power to destroy. And also, sabi nga, the power of taxation is the blood of our government. So when we say blood of the government, imagine yourself without a blood. Don't you think you will not be paralyzed? Of course, you will, because without the blood flowing on your vein, on your body, you cannot function well. That is why it is being said also to be the blood of our government. Okay, next we have the legislative body. It is the legislative body of the government who enact our taxation laws. By the way, what are the three branches of our government? It is the executive branch. This is more on the administration, and this is our government. We have our judiciary, and this judiciary is the Supreme Court. And lastly, we have the legislative body or the Congress. The Congress is composed of two. We have the upper house and the lower house. The upper house, this is the Senate, and the lower house, this is the House of Representatives. These are our congressmen. Now, on the legislative body, they are the one who enact, who repeal, who amend our taxation law. And it is the function of the executive branch, the administration or our government to implement this taxation law. And then the judiciary or the Supreme Court, papasok naman sila when the taxation law has gray areas. Meaning to say, they are the one who will interpret this taxation law if there is a gray area with regards to taxation or this taxation law. Okay, to enforce proportional contribution. Once you are subject for the taxation, you will be paying for the proportional contribution. Meaning to say, enforce. When we say enforce, it is not based on the willingness of the taxpayer. It is not based on his likes or dislikes whether he will pay or not the taxes to the government. What I'm trying to say is that, halimbawa, ngayon, taon na to, 2020, subject ako sa taxation. Nagbabayad ako ng buwis ko. Okay? The following year, ayoko na magbayad ng buwis. Hindi ako magbabayad ng buwis sa 2021. Pagdating ng 2022, gusto ko na magbayad ng buwis. So, hindi siya based on the likes or dislikes ng ating taxpayer. Pagka na-subject na ako ng taxation, automatic yon, masasubject lahat ng income ko doon sa ating taxes. So that is enforced proportional contribution. When we say proportional, hindi naman yan nakabase kung sabi nga based on likes or dislikes kung magkano lang yung babayaran mo or ganito lang yung gusto mong bayaran. When we say proportional, the higher the income that we have, the higher the taxes that we are going to pay for our government. So that is proportional contribution upon persons, properties, or rights. Ibig sabihin, ang tinataksan daw natin dito ay persons, properties, or rights. When we say persons, do not limit ourselves with regards to only individual, sa tao. So dito, sa taxation, when we say persons, pwede din yung mga juridical persons. Sir, ano ba yung mga juridical persons na yan? They are the partnership, the corporation. So they have juridical personality based on our legal or based on our law. And properties. So when we are transferring our properties, of course, we are going to pay for the transfer tax with regards to our properties, as well as our rights. Sir, what about the rights? The government is giving us rights to exercise our profession, to be here in the Philippines, to be employed, to work here and to earn money. And that rights is also being taxed by our government. For instance, I am an accountant. So, I want to practice my profession. I I have an accounting office, and then this accounting office in return will pay for taxes to our government because it is the right that they gave me to practice my profession here in the Philippines. Okay? To generate revenues which defray the expenses of the government. Of course, sabi nga natin kanina, that is, the taxation is the lifeblood of our economy. Dito kumukuha ng pera si government para sa pang-araw-araw niya ng mga gastusin. And what are those expenses? Maraming expenses ang government natin. Unang-una na dyan, yung mga sweldo ng ating mga employees, government officials. Dito, kinukuha sa mga taxes na binabayaran ng mga taxpayers natin yung mga pinampapasweldo sa kanila. Also, yung mga infrastructures natin, yung mga kalsada sa mga bukid, yung mga tulay, yung mga buildings, infrastructures, they are being financed by our taxes or the taxes to the taxpayers. And also, with our government debts. Okay, maraming utang si government natin. Lalo na doon sa mga foreign banks, sa mga foreign institution, other countries. So yun, ginagamit natin yung mga taxes na kolekta sa ating mga taxpayers doon sa mga pambayad natin sa mga foreign debts natin. So that is basically our definition of our taxation. Okay, what else? So this is just a question of, alam mo ba kung ano ang pinakamasakit na tax? Ano daw? Thumb tax? Hindi. Yan ay taksil. Okay? So, paano naging masakit yung pagiging taksil? It is based on the unfaithfulness. Diba? Pagka unfaithful yung isang tao, masakit yon sa pakiramdam. So that is why taksil is our answer. Okay, to give you a preview of what is taxation, this is our government and this is our taxpayer. The taxpayer is so happy that he is or she is earning higher or high income. Of course, when he or she is earning a higher income, he is or she is also to pay for a higher tax. So, the taxpayer pay taxes to the government and the government in return provides services. Again, as I mentioned earlier, ito yung mga taxes, ito yung mga ginagastos ni government pampasweldo doon sa mga government employees natin, government officials, para mag-function doon sa ating mga government offices. Pinampapatayo ng mga parks, hospitals, binibigay na para sa tuition ng mga ating mga scholar. So that is basically the cycle of our taxation. Okay, next, we have the basic principles of a sound tax system. For the basic principles of a sound tax system, I have a question. Para kanino ka bumabangon? For whom do you wake up for? Okay? So, this is a question of paano nga ba kanino ka bumabangon? Some says they are uh, bumabangon sila para sa pamilya nila. Some says bumabangon ako para sa sarili ko. But the government is, gagamitin natin yung para kanino ka bumabangon na yan in relation to our fiscal adequacy. Ano ba kasi ang ibig sabihin sa fiscal adequacy? Under this principle, there is sufficiency of source of revenue to meet expenditures of government regardless of business condition. Meaning to say, dapat daw sapat yung nakukolekta natin with regards doon sa ating taxes at napapaikot kinabukasan, pambayad sa mga expenses ni government at kailangan niya ulit mangolekta para magkaroon ulit sa susunod na araw na pambayad sa mga expenses ni government. So, araw-araw bumabangon or gumigising si government to collect taxes and also to pay for the expenditures or the expenses of the government. So that is fiscal adequacy. Next, sabi, minsan sa sobrang pagmamahal natin at sa sobrang ayaw nating mawala ang isang tao, doon palalong iniiwan tayo. Kasi di natin alam, nakakasakal na pala tayo. So sabi nila, they say, too much love will kill you daw. Okay? Too much love, nakakasakal daw yan. So, i-relate natin yan dito sa ating next topic na theoretical justice. Ano ba kasi ang sabi sa theoretical justice? The principle highlights that the tax imposed must be proportionate to taxpayers' ability to pay the same. So doon lang tayo sa ability ni taxpayer. Huwag natin siyang taksa ng mataas kung alam naman natin na kumikita lang siya ng maliit. Okay? So ang ating principle dito sa theoretical justice is that once the taxpayer is earning a high income, that is the time that we are going to tax him or her for a high tax. Okay? So we have proportional payment of our taxes. The higher the income, the higher that we are going to pay for our taxes. So that is basically theoretical justice. And lastly, so we have here a quote, ang tunay na seryoso, hindi yan agad susuko sa isang relasyon. Hahanap yan ng solusyon para maayos ulit ang sitwasyon. Okay? So, kung talaga daw seryoso ang isang tao, okay, kapag may problema ang isang relasyon, titingin niya ng mga ways kung paano maayos yung problema or yung sitwasyon na hinaharap nila. So, ganun din yung gusto sa ating ipaintindi with regards to administrative feasibility. How? Ano ba kasi yung administrative feasibility na yan? The administrative feasibility is this principle states that law must be capable of convenient, just, and effective administration. Okay? So, ibig sabihin daw, yung mga taxes na ini-implement ni government na pinropose or ginawa ni legislative body or nung ating Congress, dapat daw that must be executed in a simple, just, and effective administration. Paano po yun? Ibig sabihin, dapat, government. So, mangungulekta ka ng taxes. So, anong paraan ba yung mga madaling koleksyon para sa mga taxpayers natin? So, padadaliin nila yung pangungulekta ng buwis. Kaya nga si BIR, si Bureau of Custom, nagkakaroon sila ng mga updates. So, nagkakaroon sila ng mga innovation. Dati, yung sa pagbabayad ng buwis, mano-mano lang. Pupunta pa si taxpayer sa opisina ni BIR, magbabayad. Ngayon, meron ng mga bangko. Pwede ka nang mag-enroll online through just by clicking, makakapagbayad ka na kahit nasa bahay ka na lang. So, pinadadali niya yung pangungulekta ng buwis or pinadadali niya yung implementation natin ng taxes. So that is basically the basic principles of our sound tax system. So I hope naintindihan natin yung definition ng taxation as well as the basic principles of sound tax system. So hanggang dito na lang. So see you on our next topic. Thank you.